What up, YouTube? Thought I'd do a little bit of a different video on this one. I'll be talking about my, for lack of a better word, I suppose, ghost stories. Yeah, I think this would be quite interesting for people. It is, I've had many in my life, and, you know, some of them were quite scary, some of them not so scary. There are some that I've experienced that I've not put in here because they were sort of benign and, you know, a bit weird, but not, could have still been something else. But these ones I would say definitely fall in the that can't be explained category. And I am very rational. Like I say, I've had over experiences which I am able to rationalize away and think, oh, that was etc. thing happened which caused that noise, that shadow, etc. But these ones are definitely ones I've never been able to like get a grasp on. So anyway, get into it. And this first one, sorry, as you might be able to see, is a pair of swings. These aren't the actual swings that I was near when this first story occurred. But essentially, just what happened is that me and my friend were talking to a girl, who was also our friend, I suppose, but we don't see her anymore, but I still see this other friend to this day. And as we were talking, we heard footsteps just like on the tarmac behind us. And this is on a large field, and we turned round and there was nothing there at all. It was a bit weird, to be honest, but still not the scariest thing. But these set of swings show up again. It was only like a few years ago that I experienced something else at this exact same pair of swings that are near me. Not this pair of swings in this image, but, you know, it is what it is. And I'll get into the next one. They'll get worse from here, I suppose. This one was just, you know, a bit weird, but not overly scary. So yeah, I suppose like this was a really scary one that me and my same friend saw. Essentially, we were round at one of our friends' houses. My friend whose house it was like asleep here. I was sort of sat on the edge of the bed here, and then my other friend, who is the friend that was at the swings, was sat on this bed here. And what we were doing is we had on like one of those, you know, badly dubbed Chinese films where you can't really tell, you know, where the lip sync isn't perfect. And we had just muted it just to listen to what they were saying, or read it rather, to read the subtitles. And we were listening to an album, might have been something like Jimmy Eat World, Incubus, about that period. This would be like 2000, 2001, maybe 2002. Around that period. And when the film stopped, I got up from the edge of the bed here, turned off the TV, and then sat back down. And then as I sat back down, we saw this. And it's even giving me goosebumps thinking about it now. This head that went past the window. It was a silhouette. So obviously this silhouette here is obviously a bit strong. It would be a lot more faded because it was on the opposite side of the curtains. And this head, like, when it bobbed up and down, and the profile was slightly different to this. It had a more pointy nose and a sort of more, not quite a knobbly chin like this. It was more like sort of my profile, I would say. It was a head, and it bobbed up and down. And as anybody who knows from animation, like people bob up and down as they walk. If you animate something and it's not bobbing up and down, it looks weird, it looks alien. It's like, or if you see people in real life walking around and they're not bobbing up and down, they're like walking on a flat plane, they look like they're walking a bit weird. It bobbed up and down, it had a nose, chin, bald head, and it went from right to left. And the thing is, we were up on what in Britain we would call the first floor. In America, you call the first floor what we call the ground floor. So for Americans watching this, or any sort of countries like the Philippines that use the American systems, you think about it in the second story. And this window faced into the back garden, which then faced onto other back gardens. So there's like no way somebody could be walking past the window round the back of the house, a story up. Absolutely weird. And then obviously I'm closer to the window because I've lost the cursor. I am here. So I see it because I'm like faced to that direction with my back to my friend. I see it go past the window, and I turn round to him and I say, did you see that? I didn't prompt him. I just said, did you see that? And he said, that head go past the window. And then that's where I hit a brick and I shot from this bed with my back against the wall with him. And we were like in shock. And yeah, that is definitely one of the most scary things I've seen. And I've seen other videos like this on the internet to this day now. I think they come under like the term like shadow people. And I've seen videos where the shadow person comes from like the window and like seems to fall into the room through the window and the curtains. And I'm super glad that didn't happen. But yeah, freak it, didn't like it, would not recommend. Not my cup of tea. But you know, not dilly dally. I think I've explained that one enough. It's definitely in my top 3. I would say that was one of the top 3 scary occasions I had. So. And then we get on to maybe the very scariest one, where it involves a window. I was sleeping at my genetic father's house, and I was asleep here, laid on my side, with my hand sort of, my hand would be like, so where the bottom of this veiled figure is at the minute. And obviously I think you're probably going to get where I'm going with this story, is that I woke up, I saw a veiled woman, not dark like this image. She was more like white, but obviously against like the sort of curtains with light shining through like this, like the sort of net curtains and whatnot, might have made her appear more light. I'm not sure, because when I've looked into stories, this figure known as the Night Hag is usually portrayed or seen as being dark, but maybe they see more at night time. It was morning time. Probably like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. It was Boxing Day, like the day after Christmas. For anybody who's not from the Anglo sort of countries that don't know what Boxing Day is, but Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, Christmas Day. And yeah, so I woke up, I saw this figure, and then obviously I think I'm imagining things. I'm like, I can't really be seeing that. So I like, you know, do like sort of they do in cartoons where I like close my eyes, shake my head. Like I'm obviously thinking I'm like hallucinating a little bit. And then the figure is straight next to me here at the bed. She's like gone warped in the time that I've had my eyes closed. And then I'm paralyzed. I'm like, and I can't move. And she grabbed my hand, which was potentially the scariest part, the fact that she could make physical contact with me. I mean, now that I've researched into the Night Hag more as I've got older, it appears that this is quite normal, as well as the paralysis thing. But some people tried to tell me that I was suffering from sleep paralysis when this happened, and that's not the case. I get sleep paralysis. Very rarely, but I do get sleep paralysis. And sleep paralysis is where you wake up, but you are paralyzed, you can't open your eyes or move, and you're trapped in between being asleep and being awake. And it doesn't last very long. This, I was fully awake. I was already woken up. I could move. I, like I said, woken up and looked round to see her. I had then shook my head with my eyes closed. So I had moved already. I was not suffering from sleep paralysis. And then she paralyzed me. And from researching about the Night Hag, it does appear to paralyze you. It does say sleep paralysis in the description as well, which, you know, maybe not every experience is the same. Maybe she does sleep paralyze some people. My paralysis was when I was awake, but I'd just woken up. And I'm not sure if I just mentioned this, but when she grabbed my hand, the side where she made contact with was like burning hot. I wasn't in pain, but when I touched it with my left hand, I was like, why is it so hot on that side? And the other side of my hand was like freezing cold. It was like I said, one side red hot, the other side freezing cold. And the rational part of my brain maybe says that my hand was cold because maybe I'd been laid on it funny as I'd woken up. My hand was hung out of the bed. And maybe I'd just trapped the circulation in it. And then consequently, as you know, if you trap circulation, so if it gets cold because there's no blood flow to that area. But yeah, that is potentially the scariest event I've ever had because it made physical contact with me. And I wasn't expecting it. But to be fair, you're never expecting any of these. They always get you by surprise. So yeah, I mean, I'll try to move on to the next one. I'm sure I'm maybe missing some details out of this, but that's the Night Hag one. So another one, we were round at my friend's house. We would be down in the basement underneath here, and we were smoking so that it didn't make the house smell of smoke. There were a few of us downstairs. there was a girl, or a woman rather, upstairs waiting in the living room because she didn't smoke. This woman is a cousin to the person who was renting the house, and also was the girlfriend to another one of my friends who was here as well. And then while we're smoking downstairs in the basement, or in the cellar, we hear like a boom just as we're finishing up. We were like, what was that? Then we go upstairs, and then the woman is like sort of curled up with her knees up against her chest, scared stiff, and says, I've just seen something go against that wall there. Talking really fast. So I'll say it slower. She said she saw something go along the wall where I've put these arrows here. And she said she said, this is her words, she said it looked like a ferret or a carrier bag. It was like white, and it just moved along the edge of the wall. And I see no reason to disbelieve her. She did appear to be scared stiff, and I see no reason why she would pretend she's not that kind of woman. So yeah, very, very weird. And there's more stories with this house as well. This house is probably the most haunted house me or any of my friends have been in. That's maybe the only experience I really have where I was present. There's other stories where I wasn't present, people tell me, from this house. But I'm not going to include them in this video because they're not my story. This is my experiences, things that I saw with my own eyes. If you want another video on all the stories that I've heard from friends and family, I will gladly make that as well. But let me know in the comments and I'll make that video. But yeah, that's the sort of, I don't know, carrier bag / ferret story. And then on the next one, so I once moved into a flat. And this is weird because I've had to use this bed image twice because the same thing has happened in 2 different houses, or a very similar thing. But when I moved into this flat, the very first night I was there, something nudged the bed. And it wasn't what I believe is called a myoclonic jerk. You know, that jerk where you're falling asleep and you go, and you jolt yourself awake. It wasn't that. It wasn't one of those. Something nudged the bed. So I'm like, oh, I see nothing. Very strange. Not the scariest thing. I just went straight to sleep. I think the other 2 stories from this flat are probably scarier than this. So the next one is, yeah, I was once just falling to sleep again in the same bedroom at the same flat, and as I'm falling asleep, I hear something like, hit the ground. And to me, it sounded like a lighter. Like maybe I'd left a lighter somewhere and it had just like slipped off something and dropped on the floor. But then when I woke up, I went in the kitchen and there was a pair of scissors just in the middle of the kitchen. And there was nowhere for them to have slid off. There was nothing like, there was no piles of anything on the counters or, anything that it could have been on. So it just either levitated and dropped on the floor or been pushed onto the floor. Very strange. And again, I don't know, for me, more scary than the nudging of the bed when deadly objects are like moving around on their own in your flat and you heard it as well. And then in the very same flat, another scary event was I was falling asleep again. And as I'm falling asleep, I hear the wardrobe bang, like boom, as though somebody had punched it. So I I whip round and I'm looking at it, I'm staring at it, and I'm like, what was that? What? Bang. And then, even louder, like boom again, but it doesn't move, nothing moves. It's like the wardrobe is completely still. It doesn't rattle or anything. It makes this almighty bang, as though something has punched it. I'm telling you, it took me a long time to fall asleep after that because of the big bang. It was, and because I was fully awake and watching it as well. It wasn't like with the nudging of the bed and the scissors where I'm sort of like, dropping off. And I'm still mostly sure it occurred. Like this was like 100% attention on the thing and it occurred. Very, very bad. Very, very, very bad, very scary. I don't know how to describe it any more than that. But yeah, and then that's the only 3 stories from that flat. But this house I'm in now has another 3 stories that have happened, even scarier than these. But I'll get to those later. Because first, there's this field that has had a few events in. I'm sure I'm missing one of these as well. I'm sure that one of these occurred and I've sort of blocked it out. I can't really remember it. But there's at least 2 events I can remember in this same field. And So one, me and my friend, again the same friend that saw the head go past the window, and sort of like the swing. We were walking along this field. We come out of this like sort of ginnel or a snicket, passageway which leads between like these set of houses into a farmer's field, and then there's what we call in Britain a public footpath that leads across here. But as I am, I have to just resize this. Sorry, and then as we are walking across the field, I notice that we aren't alone in the field, and I can see two silhouettes. Just give me a minute, sorry. Yeah, I can see two silhouettes, and they are walking, which would be, if I would be able to move me. As you can see, I put a valley here, right? So this field, where this line is, where the silhouettes were walking, is like sort of a valley, where it would then curve back up towards the opposite end of the field. Me and my friend are at the high point, where he's a little bit in front of me. I'm just like behind him. We're walking together, but it's like, it's a footpath, so you can't really walk side by side unless one of you walks through all like the rotivated soil. And I say to him, like, we're not alone in the field. Can you see them? And then my friend says, yeah, them people down there. And I'm like, yeah. So we can both see two silhouettes, and they are walking along, like say the very ditch of the valley, which isn't really a footpath. Like nobody ever walks along that. They would have had to come out of another field. But as we're walking, right, and we get to this like sort of gate which leads down like a passageway between the field and the houses on the next estate. Normally there's this light that comes on, like a security light, once you get near the gate. And as these two figures get to the gate and the light comes on, poof, just disappear, and and they're not there. And I know some of you are going to be thinking they're your two shadows, but no, there were silhouettes. There was like our shadows would have like been behind us, in front of us, one of the directions from the moon shining. So it couldn't have been our shadow at all, especially because in this field the moon and the sun like go over like this way. So any light would be coming that way. Like this direction here, which is south on this image, is the more northerly direction. So the sun and moon go this way. So they can't be our silhouettes, or even, sorry, our shadows. They are silhouettes. And as I say, they get to that there, and the light comes on, and they're not there. We're both like, what the fuck? Where did they just go? And the gate makes a creaky noise as well, like when it opens. And that never occurred. We got to the gate and there was nothing there, but we definitely saw two shadows in the field with us. Very, 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 very strange. And then in this same field, or rather, just as this story is a bit different. Me and my brother, we are walking down. Like I said, there's a passageway here, and then there's also a passageway that leads the other way to go around the estate, lead out a different direction. And there's this gate here that makes a creaky noise. And me and my brother are walking down here because the fence is so tall. We haven't set off the security light yet because we're obstructed behind the fence. This fence is like taller than me. But as we get to this gate, this bush here just like moves, and then I didn't see it because I was behind my brother. But he said he saw like something huge, like the back end of a panther or something. And my brother is very knowledgeable about like the sort of fauna or animals in the United Kingdom. And it wasn't a fox or anything like that. It was huge, he said. And I could tell by the way the bush seemed to move, it was huge. And we both looked at each other again and was like, what was that? And we heard it taking off as well. Like sort of, you could hear it padding through the soil at full pelt. I can't remember hearing it breathe or anything, which might have helped me, determine like the size of the animal or anything. But it was gone quick as well. So it was traveling at some speed. It was very big and very fast. But it obviously wanted to get away from us as soon as possible. And I kind of wish, like at this point, I was like yammering at my brother, with him really just listening. And I kind of wish I'd be more quiet now to be able to like assess what this was. Because, as I say, it was very, very strange. Did freak us out, and that's like 2 events we've had in the same field. Sorry, I'm just having a few problems working out where my cursor was on which screen. So then, yeah, now we get to where I live now. And the very first night, again, it's weird that it's the very first night in both of these 2 locations. Something's like tried to interact with me as I'm falling asleep. But on this occasion, I have my feet hung out of the bed. I don't really like the covers being over my feet unless I'm like super cold. Obviously, you lose a lot of heat out of your feet, just like you lose heat out of your hands and your head as well. So for me, it's very nice usually to have my feet hung out of bed. But anyway, something stroked like my big toe, like on the sort of nail part of it, as I'm like sort of like laid face down. And then so I just think maybe the covers have moved, and so I try and move my foot, and there's nothing near my foot. Like the covers, if my foot is hung out of bed, like the covers are sort of like covers are here, like nowhere near the edge. When I wiggle my foot, there's nothing there. I can't touch the edge of the bed, well, not very easily unless I really push it that way, and the covers aren't there either or whatever. Very, very weird. But I just fell asleep. Tried to sort of dismiss it, but it was as clear as day that something stroked my foot, my toenail. Very freaky. And then this one is really scary. I had gone out for a run. I had my earphones in. I was still listening to music, and I had put my phone on charge. This is not my house, but I had put my phone on charge on like sort of socket round the edge of this corner here, right? So imagine I'm like leant. It is a wall essentially. Like it wouldn't be open like this, but imagine I'm just like leant on this post here, facing that door, with my phone on charge at a socket. My earphone's still in, still pumping out music, and then as I'm like messaging this woman, there's this almighty bang behind me, right? And it's loud enough that I hear it over the music. And then not only that, because I have a basement underneath where I live, or a cellar rather, I feel the floorboards wobble, and I could feel this like force or gust of wind go past my legs as well. Super strange. And then obviously like I whip round and I like end up backing up all the way with my back against the door. And yeah, very weird. And I had always kind of thought some of the weird things happening in my house, were not really vindictive or anything. But this really did seem like it wanted to harm me. Like a massive bang for no reason. Very, very strange. I'm not exactly sure why it would be. Like I said, there was three parts of evidence there. There's the loud bang that I could even hear over my music. There's the floorboards wobbling, or like me feeling the impact of the floor where something has landed beside me that I can't see. And also the fact that I could feel like a force go past my legs or a gust of wind. So it, pretty physical indicators there that did happen. Very strange. And then this one, actually, I'm pretty sure this one happened before the last one. I've tried to go in chronological order here as best I could, but I think I've got this one mixed up. I think this one happened before the banging, because this is when I still thought it might not wish me harm. Luckily, nothing ever has happened lately to make me think that it still wishes me harm. But anyway, so for this story, I am sat on the toilet here. I've left the toilet door open because I live alone. Like, who cares? These are the steps up to my bedroom, which is on the sort of top floor, and these are the stairs to go downstairs. And that's another bedroom door, and this is another bedroom here. So what happened is I'm sat on my phone having a dump, a number 2, and I hear something fall on the windowsill behind me. And I can't really say that's anything spooky or anything. It could have been like, a toothbrush that was still in its plastic packet I've just like placed there. Maybe it's fallen over. Sometimes things just do naturally like fall, but it was a bit weird. I was like, what was that? But again, I dismissed it. Look, you hear weird noises all the time. You can't think there's something spooky every time. So I kind of dismissed that one. But then upstairs, either in my bedroom or next door's bedroom, which would be, like up against each other because it's a semi-detached house, I hear a doom, I was like, what was that? Was that my next door neighbor? Was that in my bedroom? What was that noise? Again, bit hard to say that that was something spooky, but that's not where the story ends. So then, after that, these all in quick succession as well. I hear a dum dum dum. So something has just walked down my stairs and opened the door to get round it. The door creaks. So as I said, I hear three steps, door creaks. And now I'm definitely shitting myself because I hear those three footsteps clear as day and the door move. All as one, like, like dum dum dum. So now I'm like, this is definitely something weird happening here. Like that was not a normal noise. That was not something like, that was not next door. That was not something falling over randomly. That was something sounds like it's just walking towards me from my bedroom. And then the bathroom door, the sort of door handle on it, makes like a noise as though something's moved it. I mean, I'm obviously staring in this direction at the minute, looking at the door, waiting to see if somebody's going to come and like, what's going to happen. And I hear like the doorknob just go, like, squeak a little bit, as though somebody's just like quickly like moved the door handle. But it didn't move. Again, just like the wardrobe, there was no movement. It was just a noise. They're very, very freaky. But the fact that it was like sort of 4 noises, maybe 3, definitely 2 noises in a row that were like spooky. Yeah, very scary story. I would put that maybe, in that top 3, maybe top 4 again, along with the bang, the head, the night hag story. And then very recently, and only just like a year, 2 years ago maybe, that same set of swings, I am walking up to work and I cut across the field. And as I get like 30 yards past the swings, I hear one of the swings start swinging back and forth like, wee, 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 wee. And I have only just walked past these swings. There's nobody else in the field. It is pitch black. Like there's street lights on the edge of the road, and I'm trying to like see it. I can't quite see it swinging, but I can hear it clear as day. The fact that the swing is swinging. And then I had a decision: do I go walk back and have a look at it, or do I just carry on going to work? And I carried on going to work because I thought I'd rather just go to work. And what's going to happen even if I see it swinging? It's just going to freak me out even more. Not going to be, it's not going to bring me any positivity seeing that. So yeah, I just can't continue going up to work. And I would say that is maybe, they're my most prominent stories. I kind of feel like I'm forgetting a few at the minute. I did write them down on a list, and then I lost the list. And then I've made this just from memory yesterday. But yeah, I mean, for me, the supernatural is definitely real. People try and like dismiss it as like there's a logical explanation, and I would say, for the vast majority of noises and events, there is a logical explanation, but these ones don't have any. Especially like the sort of head past the window, the night hag one. People try and say like, oh, you're suffering from sleep paralysis, but true, wasn't suffering from sleep paralysis because get sleep paralysis. I know what that's like, and that was not sleep paralysis with the night hag. People try and, one of my friends who was a bit more scientific tried to say, there's a rational explanation for the head going past the window. And I said, what's the only rational explanation is that somebody made a cardboard cutout, made it really tall, went past the window, and then just ran off. And then never brought it with us, never said, ha, I tricked you, or, like, never filmed it. What would be the reason? How would they know we saw it? How would they know that it freaked us out? It's completely, for me, illogical to say that it was somebody playing a trick. They don't know if we're awake. They don't know if we're looking at the window. So yeah, I would say that's my ghost stories. If you want to hear the other stories that I've heard secondhand from other people that I know, and I do trust that these things happened, then let me know, and I'll make a second story of secondhand ghost stories. But yeah, I'm going to leave this one here for now. Sorry about my green screen continually moving. Absolutely annoying. But if you enjoyed this video, give me a subscribe, like the video, send it to your spooky friends, that like Halloween stuff and being scared and ghost stories. And I'll see you in the next one.